Welcome. I'm Morris Mohammed and this is the English news program on Somaliland National Television. These are the stories making headlines. President of Somaliland places foundation stone for developmental projects in Odweyne. Minister of Minerals and Energy grants exclusive interview on progress made and prospective plans. U.S. shooting rocks on capital city. President of Somaliland Ahmed Silanyo placed foundation stones for prospective developmental projects in Odweyne, as well as cutting the ribbon for completed projects. President Ahmed Silanyo, speaking to the public, reiterated that although much progress has been made, there is always room for improvement. He stated that this administration is working effortlessly to ensure citizens throughout the nation are receiving the best from their elected and appointed officials. The President of Somaliland during this work visit placed multiple foundation stones for developmental projects. On the other side, the senior government delegation led by the President of Somaliland cut the ribbon for multiple developmental projects in Odweyne. Speaker of Somaliland's House of Representatives Abdurrahman Abdullahi Irro chaired a deliberation session on the road development proposed act by the presidency. The Speaker opened the deliberation session and parliamentarians began debating on the issue. Many points of view were exchanged and several parliamentarians emphasized the necessity of such a law. The road development proposed law is pushing for a quarterly tax collection of vehicles instead of the current biannual tax payment by vehicle owners. The increase of generated revenue will be used to better renovate, reconstruct, and newly erect roads throughout the nation. Several parliamentarians in attendance stressed the need for such a law if in fact infrastructural developments are to improve. The Speaker of Somaliland's House of Representatives agreed to continue deliberation sessions at another time due to the need for more discussions. Minister of Minerals and Energy Hussein Abdi Duale granted an exclusive interview to our reporters on progress made and prospective plans of his ministry. The minister highlighted the benefit numerous agreements made with foreign companies will bring to Somaliland. Minister of Minerals and Energy Hussein Abdi Duale began by elaborating on the need for an act or laws for regulating the possible oil explorations set to take place in the nation. The minister speaking on this issue stated,
Yes, we have plans to implement a similar regulation or act that pertains to the minerals as well as the energy. I'm happy to report to you that we have already have done a tremendous amount of work in terms of preparing the National Energy Act or the National Electricity Act. We have had international advisors to help us with this, as well as assistance from the USAID. When I first came here, when this ministry took over the responsibility, I immediately realized that there is really no electricity act that guides the energy generation and the distribution sector. And that is why you see there is no standards, there is no regulations, there is no tariff system. So we really saw the need to immediately work nation in the world has. So we were fortunate to have got some assistance from the USAID to fund this effort. It has gone on for about a year and a half now. We had also some advisors as well as lawyers, both international lawyers as well as local lawyers, to blend it in with the local laws of Somaliland. And now we're very, very fortunate to tell you that that law or that Electricity Act is ready to go, and it's pretty much ready. It's kind of just being looked at by final review, if you will, before we pass it on to the Council of Ministers, which is going to debate it and then eventually send it to the legislature.
He continued to elaborate the necessity of placing additional focus on the mineral reserves of Somaliland and the priority of this administration to strengthen that crucial sector. The minister speaking on that topic stated,
There is more than one company oil and gas exploration company that is, that is operating in Somalia or will operate in Somalia in the not too distant future, that this government have basically signed production sharing agreements with. Ganel, as you know, I have talked about Ganel at length in the Somali version, who is not leaving the country, it's not bailing out. There is a halt in operations for reasons that I have explained, and hopefully they will resume operations once those issues are resolved. So that is one company that basically has done quite a bit of work already, and they will resume that operations once they optimize their and reformulate how they want to plan to operate in Somaliland. But in addition to Ganel, there are 3 other oil and gas companies that this government have signed a production sharing agreements with to explore and find oil in Somaliland. And these are DNO, which is a Norwegian-based company. There is another company called Gas, which took over operatorship from a company called Ophir Energy that had 2 blocks. There is also a third company that we have, DNO, by the way, we just signed the agreement in April of this year.
There are a number of foreign companies hoping to explore the alternative energy sector of Somaliland, and as an emerging sector, the minister stated that initiatives have already been implemented, such as making the capital's airport an environment-friendly location. Minister of Minerals and Energy Hussein Abdi Duale stated.
Well, what he said, that is definitely an area that I am really concerned. It hasn't really moved, as well as hydrocarbons sector. We have signed some agreements with foreign companies to start looking and exploring for mineral exploitation. That effort has not really gone as well as we initially envisioned. Technically, some of the exploration results were not encouraging. Some of them were not as, did not pan out as expected. But nevertheless, we are absolutely determined to kickstart this mineral exploration effort in Somaliland. So that is something definitely we are pursuing, Isaac, as far as utilizing the God-given asset of having plentiful, renewable energy base, meaning solar and wind. Those are the 2 major suppliers of renewables, and we're blessed with both. As a matter of fact, you guys see a typical day in Hargeisa is, you can see some of the winds that we get in this town, and that goes, similar to other towns in Somaliland as well. And the sun, by the way, I just got through talking to this gentleman from South Africa who is an energy company, and they are basically coming here as a result of our efforts to attract international companies to look at the renewable sector of Somaliland and invest in it. And so we are actively pursuing to develop the renewables. Matter of fact, we have now 2 projects going on, pilot projects for wind turbine, power generation from wind turbines, one in the Igad International Airport, which will very soon be supplying the airport with 100% of its power needs. We're doing a similar project in Berbera, which we're hoping to do the same thing for the port as well. So those are the kind of things that we're trying to put out there to encourage private investors to really look into the renewable sector.
Somaliland's Ministry of Minerals and Energy has been credited for playing an instrumental role in national development and progress initiatives occurring throughout the nation, and the ministry pledged to amplify efforts and work even harder at ensuring Somaliland excels on its current path of advancement. Minister of Industries Abib Diriya Noor held a high-level meeting with UNIDO officials at the official headquarters of UNIDO in Hargeisa. The minister provided a detailed report to the UNIDO officials on obstacles faced by Somaliland factories. He explained that international support is required to ensure national factories are created and sustained. The Minister of Industries also pointed out the fact that only through establishment of national factories can our economy truly become stable and the creation of employment opportunities more prevalent. Director General of Industries Ahmed Abdi Noor reiterated the Minister's message of establishing a cooperative relationship with UNIDO in hopes of capacity building this essential sector. UNIDA officials expressed their commitment to increasing efforts and collecting enough data on national factories to better assess sector voids. You're still watching the English news program on Somaliland National Television, and now for the international headlines in detail. In Washington, D.C., a U.S. gunman went.
Police in Washington, D.C. fought to control widespread panic close to the White House and Capitol Hill after a gunman went on a shooting rampage at a nearby Navy base. 13 people were killed and around 14 others injured when the shooter opened fire and had gun battles with armed officers. The FBI have identified a suspect who was among the dead. The FBI have identified a suspect who was among the dead as 34-year-old Aaron Alexis, a former Navy reservist and military contractor. The shooting rattled the U.S. Capitol, inducing a lockdown in the area with people being told to stay indoors as police searched for a possible second suspect.
In Italy, the Costa Concordia was successfully lifted in a 19-hour operation.
There were celebrations in the dark as the stricken cruise liner Costa Concordia was raised. The sight of the upright hull at just after 4 o'clock in the morning was greeted with celebrations by the locals on the island of Giglio and by the engineers who had raised her a 19-hour salvage operation at a cost of more than 600 million euros. It was one of the most expensive and complex operations of its kind. Engineers confirmed that there had been no problems, buckling or breaking the huge hulk away from the rocks.
Growing international frustration is centered on the UN inspection report of chemical weapon usage in Syria.
There have been mixed reactions to the long-awaited report from the United Nations inspectors on the use of chemical weapons in Syria, while it was confirmed that sarin nerve agent was used in an attack near Damascus last August. The document did not say who was responsible. However, Britain, France, and the U.S. claim the technical evidence points to Syrian government culpability. Mark Lyle Grant, who is the UK's ambassador to the UN, gave the British point of view.
The type of munitions, the trajectories which confirm the analysis that British experts have done about the provenance of where the rockets were fired from. All of that confirms, in our view, that there is no remaining doubt that it was the regime that used chemical weapons.
Syria and Russia, who have blamed the August attack on rebels, countered Western opinions, saying there was no need to jump to conclusions.
We had a quick glance, but we're not really able to study the report. We want everybody to treat it as an extremely serious technical matter, and we want everybody to look at the report with the eyes of experts.
UN Chief Ban Ki-moon, who has accused Syria's President Bashar al-Assad of committing crimes against humanity, condemned the use of sarin against civilians, but did not specifically blame the Syrian president for the recent attack. More than 1,400 people are said to have died from gas poisoning in August. The US, France, and Britain are pushing for a robust UN resolution, binding Syria on the removal of its chemical weapons.
That's the end of our news program. Thank you for watching and goodbye.